Hi, I'm Suzanne Hennigan, editor of Utility Week magazine. Today we're asking, will gas have a key role to play in the utility of the future? And helping me answer that is Mike Foster, Chief Executive of the Energy Utilities Alliance, who's with me now. Hi Mike.
Hi Suzanne.
Mike, in fact, you actually think gas holds the key to the energy trilemma, don't you?
Absolutely, it's a form of energy that can be stored safely for when it's needed. It's a secure supply. You very rarely get interrupted if you're on mains gas.
Right.
It's certainly affordable. We accept that people do struggle paying their bills, but gas at just under 4p a kilowatt is considerably cheaper at the moment than electricity at about 16, 17p a kilowatt. The key to it is, can you decarbonise gas?
Yes.
Because that's the third bit of the trilemma that we as a country have got to get right. And all the evidence that I've seen so far is that the gas industry is working its way through to, yes, being able to answer that question. It can decarbonise and provide that energy form up to 2050 and indeed beyond 2050.
Yeah, because I know that you've been quite vocal and you've basically said that people have been too quick to talk down gas and what it can offer.
Absolutely. There's an awful lot of interest in renewable electricity generation, and understandably it's sort of sexy, it's new high tech and smart systems that lend themselves to the way in which electricity is used in people's homes. But gas is piped into 85% of people's homes, mains gas. It provides their heat and hot water, and yes, they're cooking too for half of the United Kingdom. So it's an important energy source. So it would be wrong to dismiss it. That the challenge always is back to that trilemma. Can it deliver on the trilemma? Because certainly it's more secure a form of energy than electricity. In terms of its sources and its flexibility, the key is, can you meet those peak demands on a seasonal basis? And by seasonal, I don't just mean autumn, winter, spring, summer, but also daily fluctuations as well. And gas, because it can be compressed in the pipes with line packing, it can be stored, it can then be released safely and cheaply without the consumer, and this is the important bit, without the consumer actually knowing what's gone on. The consumer doesn't want to know how you get the energy. They just want to be able to have their boiler come on in the morning, warm their home, give them water for a hot shower, and when they come home at night, for them and their families to be warm in the evening and have all the comfort that they want. And at the moment, you have to make too many changes to have an alternative to electricity. And it's too costly for the vast majority of people in the country to adopt a new technology. So you're better off keeping gas, but you have to answer that question as a gas industry, and it's a challenge I put to my colleagues in the gas industry. Can you decarbonise? And increasingly they're saying, yes, you can.
And so what would you say to critics of gas and indeed hydrogen, which is what you're talking about? You say it's not fully net carbon.
The problem that hydrogen has got is that it's a challenge to this all-electric mentality that started around 2010, 2011. People thought the future of heating was going to be electric. And whilst the gas industry could quite rightly point to biomethane and biogas as options to be injected into the grid, and that's going on now as we speak. In fact, just down the road from where we are now, there's gas being injected from a sewerage works into the grid and being used. But that was never going to be enough. But hydrogen turns the table completely. Yes, you can blend, it looks like you can blend safely an amount of hydrogen, say 20%, which is the high deploy project in Kiel. But the switch to 100% hydrogen is getting a lot of attention, a lot of government interest, a lot of industry interest, because it keeps the benefits of a gas network and the flexibility of gas as a form of energy, it certainly ticks the decarbonisation issue because there's no carbon in hydrogen. And therefore, the only real challenge is, can it be done at scale? And how affordable would it be? And those issues are yet to be addressed fully, but they look like that it is a cheaper alternative to electrifying everybody's home and disrupting 23 million homes with alternative heating sources, plus having to deal with a new distribution network or upgrading a distribution network to cope with the increased load for electricity, and then finding where you're going to get the electricity from to begin with. And we're struggling as a country already to replace the aging nuclear fleet. Yes, people can say, well, we can do wind. Yes, we can increase the amount of wind generation without a doubt, but when the wind doesn't blow, what do you do? And the answer, ironically, is people turn to gas. Can't turn to coal, they turn to gas.
I mean, certainly there seems to be quite a lot riding on hydrogen. I know the Committee on Climate Change did mention quite a lot in its blueprint for the future. That included no new homes with gas boilers in 2025, and in fact no replacement gas boilers in 2035. Do you think that it can be turned around quickly enough? It seems to tick a lot of boxes, but it's just the time factor.
Well, firstly,
and what would you need?
Firstly, the Climate Change Committee are right to highlight the fact that natural gas, methane, is going to have to be phased out.
Yeah.
It burns carbon. Unless you can capture the carbon in some way, then as a fuel, it can't go beyond 2050 without a doubt. And quite rightly, the Climate Change Committee have identified hydrogen as a replacement, and that's quite a telling change from earlier reports that the Climate Change Committee have done. So that's very positive for the gas industry. Now, whether the gas industry can deliver in a timely way, then that's quite rightly a good challenge to put forward. The evidence that I've seen in terms of the High Deploy project at Keele University, I think that's now into its second year of a 3-year programme. That will soon conclude what, frankly, the Energy Minister said to me and a number of others is a bit of a no-brainer. Put hydrogen in, blend it, there's no change required to any appliance in your home. So you can have a gas boiler that currently burns natural gas, that burns natural gas plus 20% hydrogen. You can do that tomorrow.
So it might not be the perfect solution, but it's a really good solution for now.
It's an important step forward.
Yeah.
Because firstly, it decarbonises gas. So you're replacing the methane with hydrogen. So that ticks a box in that we're making progress. But also it enables the supply chain for those working in the hydrogen industry to start bringing up to speed how they're going to deliver hydrogen at scale into people's homes. So if you're going to get to 100% hydrogen, getting to 20% is a good step in that direction. And thirdly, it enables consumers to get used to the fact that their gas is changing, because the last time gas changed was back in the 60s when it was Towns gas and it got replaced with natural gas. Now, I'm old enough to remember it, but I was a kid. There's a whole generation of people who've never understood that you can do that in a gas network, and frankly, most of them wouldn't want to know what's in, what type of gas it is. They might know it's methane. They probably don't. They'll call it natural gas. And if you can then gain that customer acceptability that actually hydrogen could be a thing for the future, it might be that hydrogen is used to power cars rather than petrol. It might power HGVs instead of diesel. It might power trains and ships. Suddenly, it's a very flexible form of energy, and if it gets that customer acceptance, it gets the supply chain working, and is piped into people's homes so that we can see the decarbonising impact it has, then I think there will be clusters around the country, Teesside, the northwest, who will move very quickly, so probably in early 2030s, to have their industry powered by gas that's hydrogen, and then from that you can easily see that there's a domestic application, because if you're piping gas past someone's house to a factory, why not pipe the hydrogen into somebody's home? If you can have a boiler that works with that as a fuel. Now, our members who make the boilers, they've got the prototypes. They're being tested round the clock to see whether hydrogen can burn, how it burns, what's the impact on air quality, what's the impact on temperature control, all those sort of challenges that you quite rightly would expect any manufacturer to be aware of. That's what they're testing now. And so if you've got the product that works, if you've got the supply chain available to give the hydrogen to the networks and put it in there, you can see the government of the day, I don't know, probably 2025, actually say, okay, from now on, all boilers have to be hydrogen compatible. So that meets the Committee on Climate Change requirements. It meets what the Chancellor said about new homes not having gas. Well, actually, he misses the point. It's not about gas boilers, it's about the type of gas that the boilers use.
Yes.
So you should be able to have a gas boiler in a new home, provided it can run on a future piped hydrogen network. And that then means you've got between 2025 and 2050, where when your old boiler breaks, you replace it with a hydrogen compatible boiler in the same way as the 2005 regulations meant that when your old non-condensing boiler broke, you replaced it with a condensing boiler. Same shape, same size, a little bit of difference in how it works, but for the consumer, no real difference. Functions in the same way. That's the prize.
And that convenience will drive behaviour.
Absolutely. And ultimately, for the politicians who are making the decisions, and for us as an industry, and for those who lobby for alternatives, they have to always just take a step back and think, what is in the consumer's best interest? What do consumers actually want? And what are they willing to pay for? Because all this is going to cost money, and nobody has yet answered the question definitively, how are they going to pay for the change? And if you have to retrofit your home to super high levels of energy efficiency and installation, that might cost £10,000-20,000 before you can then fit your heat pump or renewable heating technology to replace gas. Who's going to pay for it? Because I don't know any consumer who's willing to put their hand up now and say, I'm willing to pay £20,000 to have the privilege of using a heat pump when I've got a good gas boiler on mains gas.
Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. So gas clearly a contender for the future. Thank you.